Speaking of Donald Trump, as you did earlier, Dominique, former President Donald Trump is suing the federal government over the FBI search of his Mar-A-Lago home and is asking the judge to appoint a special master as a way to protect the former president's rights and oversee the process of reviewing those seized documents. How do we feel about this? Could this be a tactic on Trump's part to stall the FBI review? A special master who is sometimes a retired judge or appointed in highly sensitive cases and asked to review seized materials to make sure investigators don't view privileged information. So that's what a special master does. And then Trump's lawyer claims that the FBI took potentially privileged materials, including photos and handwritten notes. And Trump's lawyers also demand a more detailed list of what the FBI sees. Dr. Oleka, let's stick with you on this one. Where do we go?
Well, I mean, I think it is important that if you have a former president who is being investigated, that whatever is being investigated is in fact looked over to make sure that nothing that could damage the American people or have a national security interest gets out. I think that is important just given the nature of what's going on. But let's back up here. This is the Biden administration who is investigating a political opponent based on not
No, it's the Department of Justice. It's not the Biden administration. It's the Department of Justice.
How the Department of Justice got to this point. This was Merrick Garland and the FBI, people who were appointed by President Biden, Merrick Garland in particular, to say that this is the right thing to do. I think that we should all be very concerned without knowing what the affidavit says, without knowing everything about why the president is being investigated, to just be so excited that this is happening, because this is how countries begin to fall. You have presidents who investigate political opponents. Donald Trump had the opportunity to do this with Hillary Clinton. He chose not to. James Comey even said in his press conference in 2016, Hillary Clinton did a bunch of things wrong, but he wasn't going to prosecute. Why? Because it would have been bad for the country. So I think we need to wait and see what all is in this before we decide that this is a good or a bad thing. But I don't tend to think that when a sitting president investigates a political rival, that that's going to be good for the long-term future of the country.
Yeah, investigate isn't really even the right word. I mean, this is a negotiation that's taken place for months with the president about top secret information. The FBI and the FBI has been talking to the president about returning these documents for quite some time, and for whatever reason, and this is the heart of this, the president has chosen not to do so. And by not returning that, he is putting this nation at risk. What's been clear about it is that they're through reported leaks, and then to your point, OJ, I do want to see, I would love to see, but obviously I won't have that sort of clearance. But understanding is that the national secrets have a lot to do with some of the nuclear placements, tactics that we would use, defense, and that sort of threat that's out in the open. And by all accounts, it sounds like the president wasn't keeping the materials under appropriate lock and key with appropriate procedures. That's a threat, and that the former president who knows this about that information was keeping it in those ways. I'm surprised that it took them that long to actually go in and get the information.
Dr. Oleka, do you agree with that?
Well, I think that Ed asks a good point. If what the former president was keeping was so top secret, and if the negotiations back and forth were so bad, then why did it take 18 months? This is the question that a lot of people are asking. If there was such a massive issue with what the former president had down at Mar-a-Lago, why did it take so long to get there? Based on the reading that I've
been the deference of the president, and that was the point that you were making at the very outset. That this had to take place really speaks to Donald Trump and his disdain for some measure of accountability.
Well, Ed, we actually don't know that because, again, based on the reporting, not leaks, because those are two different things. Based on the reporting, there was, in fact, a working relationship between the DOJ, the president, and his lawyers this summer in June.
But we do know that. We do know that because they issued a subpoena and the former president defied it. We do know that because one of Trump's lawyers signed a letter saying that all the documents were returned, which turns out to be a lie. And by the way, I need an accounting of all the documents that were flushed down the toilet. I think the 18 months do show respect for the president. This is not a partisan situation. This is the Department of Justice operating as they should as an independent agency. Look, I'm not excited about it. I'm scared about it. What was the former president planning to do with these documents? He doesn't even read comic books, let alone nuclear codes. So there must have been money in it for him. I feel like I'm watching some big, crazy card trick at one of Trump's casinos, only the future of the life on the planet may be hanging in the balance. That's scary to me, not anything to be excited about.
And we're not talking about a man who's ever been above board. And he always has people between a rock and a hard place. Now, Dr. OLeary, if they jumped too soon, everybody would have been like, well, they didn't give him a chance to turn the documents over. They just bust through the door. So you in a rock and a hard place with this man regardless. At the end of the day, we're going to get the facts about what was in there, what came out, and we will then be able to make a determination. But to act like this is so unfair on his face, we don't know that yet.
Dr. OLeary?
Well, that's what I said at the beginning. We will wait and see what comes out based on this particular story. But that's one point. The second one is, I do think that it's a little bit concerning that we're all assuming that whatever is leaked in the mainstream media, one, is even accurate. We all remember all the misinformation that was put out there about so-called Russiagate, which turned out to be untrue. And secondly, I can't believe, as Black folks in this conversation, that we're just going to say, yep, the FBI must be right in everything that they're doing to try to get somebody that they want to get.
Well, you know, there's another area that we're caught between a rock and a hard place too, right? Because listen, no one in America other than Black people were saying that the FBI was a little questionable when they went after Martin Luther King, when they went after Bobby Seals, when they went after Malcolm X, and the list goes on and on and on. Nobody thought the FBI was criminal. And now all of a sudden, all of America is trying to defund the FBI, Dr. OLeary. This is what's questionable.
Right. But
I've been consistent.
I really need them to find something, because the last thing I want to hear is those two Trump kids talking, it was a nothing burger. If I hear the word nothing burger, I'm going to commit suicide. So I need them to find something on this man.
Well, they got it. They got their documents back. But I mean, you know, the key point is those documents were out in the open with the president that has shown just a disdain for even the system of keeping it secret. And he has surrounded himself with criminals. I mean, we can run through the full list of Trump associates. Even just this past week, the CFO of his organization pled guilty to, grand larceny and tax evasion. There have been nothing but criminals around Donald Trump. And to have top secret information in that sort of circle, we should all be alarmed.
And to be clear, if anyone on this panel had those documents in their house, they would be in jail already. So the respect and deference that they've shown to the president has been monumental.